discovery and managing crowds. As you know, global travel has rebounded, and many of the world's most iconic destinations face the challenge of too much success. Yes, that is a problem, actually. While people are being overcrowded, environmental strain is also available, and there is and there might be a diminished visitor experience. I'm here with our lovely panelists, which I'm very happy to introduce. We have Mr. Gonzalo Brujó, global Global CEO and President of Interbrand, and we have Eddie Yamakita, the President and CEO of JTB Corp, and we have Martin Nydegger, CEO of Switzerland Tourism, and Eduardo Santander, the CEO of the European Travel Commission. Welcome, gentlemen. Before we start, we want to actually hear from the audience. We are going to have a poll. You can scan the QR code here on the screen. Please go ahead and do that because we're very excited to hear what you think. The question is going to be, what booking your next trip? Are you more of an explorer, researcher, follower, or loyalist? I'm going to give you some time to do that. The QR code is just going to be now on the screen. I believe it's going to be here on the screen in a very short moment. Honestly, I'm all for it to be, if I'm going to be quite expected. I want to hear from you, gentlemen. Which ones are you? Are you an explorer, researcher, follower, or loyalist? Do you go to the same places? Do you like to explore new places? Or are you following your friends?
I think we all are a little bit a mix of all of them, depending on the day, depending on location, whether you're going with your family somewhere or for work. I'm definitely a little bit of a loyalist. I have a special little list that I don't share with anybody. No, joking aside, I like to go some places very regularly, but I definitely like to explore. And being here in Riyadh and me belonging to a old traditional Spanish family, I cannot start but thanking the ministry, Al-Khatib, and obviously praising the hospitality of Saudi Arabia for having us here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now we're going to go and see what the audience thinks, and we're going to have the answer on the screen shortly. Well, that's interesting. I didn't expect that. 84% of the people are explorers. Were you surprised by those answers?
Definitely, yeah.
Mr. Eduardo, I'd like to start with you, please, because it's going to be a very interesting session, but let's talk about Europe. So Europe faces stark contrasts. Different cities, different vibes, different cultures. We have cities like Venice, Barcelona managing over-tourism, while others seek visibility. How is the ETC helping balance this dynamic?
Well, we've been doing that for many years. It's not a new phenomenon. Can you hear me?
Raise your voice.
The issue of dispersion, as the title of this panel, is very much an agenda for more than 10 years now. So the important thing that we have to ask ourselves and to ask with my fellow panelists for every destination, not only in Europe, Noor, but it's whether we want to be first or we want to be best, because there are two different approaches to that. If you want to be first in arrivals, first in expenditure, first in hotel beds, and so on and so on, that's quantifying tourism, and we've been doing that for, I think, the last 5 decades. But now I think the change of paradigm in Europe and beyond, and the crossroads that we are at, is whether we want to keep quantifying or qualifying. And qualifying requires a new set of management skills. It requires new KPIs, as we've been talking about KPIs for many years. And it requires also other voices from other sectors that are not implicit in the tourism business, such as transportation, such as energy. And here in Saudi, you know much about it, because when you created your vision, you were embedded, every other ministry and every other sector with you in this endeavor.
Absolutely. it's more of a holistic approach, actually. It's not just about tourism, it's about bringing everyone together to ensure it's a success. Thank you so much. Mr. Adi, I want to talk about Japan's tourism boom, because before the pandemic, there was economic gains and there was overcrowding concerns. How has GTB adapted its strategies to promote regional dispersion?
Japan.
Yes.
Um, you know, dispersion used to be happening in Japan too, right? Um, because the concentration is happening in Japan and Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, and other cities doesn't expect to receive the overseas travel from other countries. However, because of the pandemic, people stopped traveling to Japan, and during that period, people became a little bit unused to welcome people, right? Then suddenly, the boom happened in 2022. People rushing to Japan, and like Mount Fuji, people visit the same place because people post it in the Instagram, for example. This is a beautiful mountain there, so we visit that area so that the residents are really suffered, right? Then there was an incident that suddenly they agreed to build up the black wall so that people don't come and they were not able to see the Mount Fuji. But this is not the right way, and then we decided to have some spot where people can freely come and oversee the Mount Fuji. That kind of action was taken during pandemic, and after that, people don't rush to the same place and come to that area. And we planned some itinerary to go around the really Mount Fuji area, give proper guidance to them. So this is how we're trying. This is only one example, but this is.
I think that's a fantastic example, especially that many people want to go and see these monumental places. It's on my bucket list for sure also, for hopefully in the future.
Yeah.
Mr. Martin, I do have to talk about Switzerland. It's one of our favorite places in the world. It's so beautiful, but it has become overcrowded. But let's talk about how Switzerland is cited as a model for sustainable tourism. How have you successfully balanced visitor growth with the preservation of local communities and natural landscapes?
Well, I don't know if I agree with your first expression that it's overcrowded, and I think this is concerning most of destination. Partially, and every now and then there are events or destinations under stress, but generally in Switzerland 50% occupancy of our hotel nights prove that it's not overcrowded. So what we need to focus in how to distribute or how to disperse it in a smart and in a good manner. And we have a clear and strong vision in how we are intending to do that. It's quite a simple plan. We want people not to travel less or travel elsewhere. We want them to travel better. So this is our concept. We want to make sure, and we do everything we can to entice a all-year tourism. We really focus on visitor flows, combining hotspots with lesser-known destinations. We do whatever we can to extend the length of stay. Then we have a sustainable program called Swisstainable. It's a world combination of Switzerland and sustainable to make sure that this is already built in the system. Visitors don't have to worry about is it sustainable or not. We need to make sure as a tourism responsible that it's already built in by default. And then the last part where we as a tourism industry probably did not do our homework enough in the past years is stakeholder management and include the locals accordingly. So this is our plan, how we want to balance out the future of tourism development.
But there are high seasons though. Like for example, summer, that's considered a very high season where there might be a bit of overcrowdedness, don't you think?
It depends on the destination, right? Switzerland, actually tourism started in winter. So it is, for winter sports, it's been quite popular for more than 150 years. Summer then followed later. And it is a fact that July and August is the world's vacation period, and I think this is something everybody is suffering from. We need to make sure that we can push other seasons. So for a couple of years now, we are only pushing autumn. We even have a great ambassador, our Roger Federer, the best tennis player in the world, who is pushing that same message that autumn is the season to go to in Switzerland.
I agree with you. Autumn is the season to go to. Mr. Brujó, if I can ask you a question, please. Dispersion relies on storytelling and perception. How can branding reshape travelers' mental maps to make the road less traveled more desirable?
Yeah, I think this is all about segmentation and storytelling. To make sure that we communicate and we work on the right narrative. And every single destination, they need to find a way for them to differentiate against others in order to make sure that you attract any specific kind of clients. So in this case, segmentation will play a very, very, very important role. Right now we are talking about the role of segmentation and the role of dispersion and how changing seasonality for travelers is going to be critical for the brands if they want to succeed, in order to make sure that you can distribute travelers and investors and citizens in different places, different times, different segments to make sure that you can disperse as much as possible the tourism.
Can you give me an example, please?
Definitely. So, for example, in Spain, we have, as you can imagine, is the second most powerful destination in terms of travel inbounds. Remember that every single year there is, we double the number of people that live in the country. There is more than 100 million tourists that they come every year. We have around 52 million. So not every city offers the same things. For example, San Sebastian is dedicated to be a place for food. It is the place in the world with more Michelin stars in the world per capita. So with this thing, you have in your mind, okay, the segment is going to be gourmet foodies. Gourmet foodies. I'm going to go to see these Michelin stars restaurants. You can walk to all the restaurants less than 30 meters away. So with that specific strategy, that location, that destination work on any specific segment, and instead of going to Barcelona or to Madrid or to Seville, if you want to be a gourmet or you are a foodie, you would go to this place.
Amazing, and I would love to hear your input as well.
Yeah, I've been listening with care with my friend colleagues here just said, and the three of them mentioned sustainability. Martin with his Swiss version of it, sustainable. But there is, I'm a big fan of semantics, and we have to understand that sustainability has been already in our tourism meetings for how many years? 10, 15, we talk about it. We only have to come to the conclusion, what do we want to sustain? Because sustainability cannot be like an objective, it's a model. It's a completely change of how you design, proceed with the process, and eventually come to a result. And for the time being, what I hear in Europe and beyond, it's everybody's focusing only on the result. And sustainability in all its four dimensions, whether it's economically, socially, environmentally, or culturally, because this is the problem also in many places in Europe, that places are losing their soul because there's no local serving, because there's no local living, because there's no much local food served. So what do we want really to achieve? And here, my appeal, to my co-panelists and everybody here, is that we need to come to a conclusion here, because I think we just talk, but we don't walk that talk and say, okay, we need to put clear, measurable KPIs that help us understanding whether our job is accountable for what we want to achieve. And this is, for the time being, is not doing really well in Europe as well, mainly in Europe too, because we keep basing our model in ever never-ending growth, in an exponential growth that at a certain point will smash against a wall. We had these moments, whether it was COVID, whether it was 9/11, whether it's like terror attacks in Europe, and it rebounds. But it rebounds always with more power. It's like a fireball that you put where you put more fuel. So we never finish, okay, let's try to stabilize the curve and trying to find something that serves equally the visitors and residents alike. And by the way, also investors and entrepreneurs, because sometimes we forget in that triangle that for having visitors and residents, you have to have investment also in the place.
I absolutely agree with your statement, because when you travel, you do want to know more about the local city. You're not going for the city itself. You're going to see the residents. You want to know more about the local tapestries, whatever they have there in offer. That's the beauty of travel. Do you agree?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Adi, I want to go back to Japan. Such a fascinating country, and it's, as I said, on my bucket list, and my children's, and my husband. I think everyone needs to go there at least once. The technology there is fantastic. So how are you leveraging technology from AI to data analytics to anticipate travel behavior and guide them to these new destinations?
I think AI will definitely change the tourism world. And this is not the enemy. This is just supporting to promote the tourism for the future. And AI will change the process of booking as such. But what is more important is in the context of the dispersion, just booking the timing of the visit, this makes a big change. People always talking about it, but we need to be more practical and implement that. There are several examples that we implemented the time booking system for the famous castle in the central Japan, where people rush together, and there was a huge queue, like a 2 hours waiting time. But after introducing time slot management, this was totally gone, and people don't have to wait. But this is a very simple example, but this is not that simple, where all the destination is a little bit more complicated. So we need to combine the transportation services, like for example, a very beautiful mountain area need to be visited by the electric vehicle, right, without CO2. So we created some parking space, like maybe Swiss is doing, a parking space, and where people use my car, to get together and change the vehicle and visit there. And by doing that, not only it is good for the environment, but mitigate the overcrowding situation, because this is well planned, and because of this, I think it is so important the tour operators, people like us, take such a role to plan in advance and think about explore the new destination and plan the timing and transportation combination, plus the story and create a purpose of the visit. So this will divert, the way of visiting the destination. So this kind of combination is extremely important, I think.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
And have you seen this on the ground implemented? But sometimes ideas need to be changed every few years, I think.
Yeah.
So do you think in 5 years you're still going to implement the same thing, or will it be changed to a different?
Well, we do that in a different way based on the technology, right? So the concept itself will be the same, because the reason why the overcrowding situation happens is people just post on the social media, and this place is beautiful, and people rush together over there without thinking about, why we're visiting there, as people just visit the famous place, but by, intervening the situation. Um, Tour operator's job is to find out the new destination, plan the routing, using the technology, how to disperse the timing and the place to visit, what should be included in this itinerary, the food, services, what to do, it's wine tasting, everything, right?
Absolutely,
So
yes.
this is really important.
Thank you
way
so
of
much.
doing, yeah.
Martin, I saw that you wanted to ask to continue. You had an answer to this also. Would you like to share it?
Sorry, I didn't get.
I believe you also wanted to tell us something about this. I saw you were very animated, but I have a question for you. Switzerland is beautiful. It has so many different regions, but there are certain cities that people go to. I was wondering, how do you manage to showcase other regions that are not as well known and have tourists interchange from going rather to Geneva or Bern or Lausanne to other lesser known regions and cities in Switzerland?
It's probably the fear of missing out, the FOMO effect, which is definitely related to the social media you see. There are some attraction points in the world, not only in Switzerland, everywhere, which are absolute must-sees. And I personally believe instead of telling people do not visit that, we need to make a great combination. It's a combo. It would be irresponsible of me to tell first-time visitors to Switzerland, don't go and see the Matterhorn or don't go and see Lucerne, because these are absolutely legitimate touristic highlights, beautiful and fantastic. But what I certainly would say is, don't make this your sole reason to visit, combine it. And that goes together with the extension of the stay. We really want to do whatever we can to make sure people invest enough time to stay in the country, because then you can combine the hotspots, the really great spots you also want to come back and show your pictures and tell your stories about, but then also you want to go in the background and combine it with a lesser known destination, a mountain, a valley, a lake or something, where you can then equally brag back home and say, look of what I have discovered. And you've seen it. This is a room full of explorers, so I think people are eager to explore, and it's our responsibility as a tourism responsibles to give them the tools and the possibilities to explore our countries.
Exploring is key, don't you think? But I do want to jump on and ask you, sir, about how can narrative exploring beyond the obvious? How is that important, and where do you think it fits for the normal traveler? We've seen that there are many explorers, there are people that are loyalists, but everyone at heart is a little bit of an explorer. Then we can get them to become a loyalist.
Well, first of all, I want to answer and I want to comment on my colleagues on the role of digitalization and digital disruption. And I feel that AI is going to change completely the future of tourism, big time. So, I was speaking with the CEO of Coca-Cola 3 months ago, and he said, Gonzalo, right now my campaigns are based on influencers. I have more than 20,000 influencers around the world that they can talk about Coca-Cola brand. And then 3 weeks after, I went to L'Oreal and I was speaking with the president of L'Oreal, and she said, Gonzalo, in L'Oreal we have more than 70,000 influencers. So the role of influencers will potentially change the customer journey on how we can engage with customers in the future. So they can play a very important role. But I think the biggest challenge and the biggest opportunity for the industry, it is that the AI will help to shift the free time of citizens from around the world. I expect that in 10 years from now, probably we could be working 4 days a week. So if we work 4 days a week, we have 3 days to have fun. And maybe we can buy houses in other locations, in other countries. We can spend more money in travel and leisure. So I think there is a big opportunity for the industry going forward. I think this is going to be the biggest disruption on time, taking care of time, and I think the influencers will play a big role on this going forward.
I saw everyone here smiling when you said working only 4 days a week, so amen to that. I think you want to have an...
I think the problem the problem of dispersion relies on the complexity of tourism as such. We see this beautiful industry that we call it philosophically the industry of people, the industry of peace, the industry of happiness. We were talking about that how beautiful it is, to interact with human beings. But there is layers of complexity, starting with transportation. There's no tourism without moving, which is undergoing a huge transformation. We have hospitality, we have accommodation, we have infrastructure, we have people. And this is all a dish that we all try to put in an oven and get like an excellent result out of it. And that oven is managed in different places, in different modes, and the ingredients are mixed differently. So there's not going to be a solution either for dispersion that it's going to fit everybody. So what Japan maybe is trying to pursue, trying to get people out from the axe, Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, maybe could be replicated in some places in Europe, but not everywhere. Why I'm telling this? Because it has to do also with accessibility of places. Mainly of the dispersion issues actually are not dispersion, it's congestion. Congestion means that we have created over time so-called bottlenecks. We created a huge capacity in the air, like new air capacity, to a certain extent, and we see a huge example here in Saudi, we extend the capacity of airports. To a certain extent, we have extended our road infrastructure, but then you arrive to the place. And in the case of Europe, where some places are 2,000 years old, you cannot expand it. People want to see this original one, and what you can do is to tell to people, on top of the must do's or the must sees, there's a beautiful other Europe that you have yet to discover. And I agree with Martin, you cannot tell people what to do, because going on holiday is inherently an hedonistic, egoistic action. You go on holiday to maybe leave your life behind for a couple of days, to relax, to be with your beloved one. So it's very difficult to prescribe to people, do this, don't do that. So we have to create, and here I think Gonzalo is hitting the bullseye, saying that the narrative and the storytelling matters, because it is a change of paradigm that is gone bottom up, but also top down. And we have to take also accountability and responsibility. I see a tourism industry that it's a little bit latent, that it's reluctant, that we talk about it, but when it comes to actions, there's very little out there. So my appeal again is we need to walk this talk finally, because the new generations, your generation, all the young Saudis that you see, they probably are going to travel different, looking for a different Europe, for a different Japan, for a different Switzerland, and so on and so forth. So we need to start asking them, what's your expectation? And also using technology that help us understanding what their, the perception is, what their wishes are, and what is the inspiration that we can create for them in the future.
I do have to ask a question, because you raise such an important topic. The world is becoming larger. We have a much larger population, obviously, than 10 years ago. We're at 8 billion, and do you think one day, God forbid, there might be a limit to people attending? Like, cities will say, we're overflowing now with tourists. You cannot come this week. Do you oversee that happening? And this is a question for all of you gentlemen. Just to avoid the overcrowdedness.
There should be some limit. If you talk about only the small city, there is a capacity, of course, to accept people. However, the way to be connected with destination is not only just visiting there, right? Like people really think about this destination and the invest in that, and spend some good, souvenir from that area. This is also the part of tourism. So if we talk about small city, we can develop in that way. But what is more important is, I think, the tourism destination should be developed regionally. From the traveler point of view, it is almost impossible to invite them to the very, very local city, right? Because they have a limited time of the travel and they never visit that city instead of the big cities, right? But if you combine the area like Basque is doing in Spain, this is famous culinary, gastronomy town, and this area there are several cities, and the people visit for the sake of experiencing a nice food and nice, beautiful scenery, beautiful art. So this combination is extremely important in order to exclude the limit of the accepting people. Right.
Thank you so much, Eddie. Martin, I want to talk about data and technology, because it does play a very big role nowadays in this time and age. Tell me, are you using it in predicting and managing visitor flows across different regions of Switzerland?
I would say it's never been easy in history to collect data. I mean, it's still, there's a lot of barriers and hurdles regarding data protection program in different parts of the world. But as a matter of fact, this is heaven in terms of data collection and making use of it. And we're doing it in a way that I would say we're using it on 3 levels. The first level is the promotional level. By finding out where you're from, what is your family situation, and all the details, you can really work in a precise marketing towards you, and also guide and lead you through when would Switzerland or any other destination be perfect for you. So on a promotional level, we're using all that. Also with social media, we are not only exposed to content creators, we can invite them, we can work together with them. So this is definitely something we can absolutely use on the top level, on the promotional level. Then the second level is the planning level, when people then have decided, I have taken a decision, I want to visit this place. Again, you can steer and somehow influence the decision-making process by giving better pricing or giving better options. That's another level where you can do it, actually planning and booking. And then the ground level is when people are actually visiting the destination. Again, you know where they are. You can work with sensors, with real-time data, and make sure that they're not stepping on each other's feet. So I think on these 3 different levels, this is our approach. We believe that then we can also make sure the better job we do on the top level, the promotion level, the less hassle and the less crowd we have on the lower level.
So on top of this, so you need to have a very clear product. So you need to define very well your product. Before talking about data, you need to design very well what is your ambition, what is your purpose, what is the trajectory, what is the product that you are going to be selling. And you need to be something for someone, not something for everyone. You need to be very selective if you really want to be the top destination or the top location in the world. The second thing is the pricing. Sometimes we know that in order to make sure that you have less crowded locations, pricing has been lately instrumental. I'm going to increase prices like crazy, I'm going to premiumize, but that is not the solution for everything, because remember, people want to go to Venice, people want to go to Rome, people want to go to Paris, and people will like to come to Riyadh. So pricing is not unique. Then you need to take into consideration everything related to digital experiences, as my colleagues explained, to know very well the DNA. Organize pricing strategies, tailor-made products, and really understand their customer journey. It is all about understanding their customer journey and reorganizing the customer journey of future customers. And then something that is going to be very important, we talk about the narrative, which is the storytelling, but also we need to take into consideration the role of policy making. Because remember, there is countries or markets or governments that are against tourists. And this is something that we see more and more. And there is a lot of legislation there, and you need to be careful with that. So for example, in the UK, talking about Brexit, the VAT taxes for students is increasing 20%. That means that people that go to the UK tourists that they go there to educate, because they have 20% more taxes, they will no longer there and they will go to Switzerland, or they will go to Ireland. So a complete different segmentation will go away over time. So policy making, and that is why you need to work on the entire ecosystem to make sure that you can coordinate this thing well.
Absolutely. I think we're almost running out of time. Would you like to answer?
I just actually wanted to answer your questions.
Okay.
Because your previous question was whether we should limit at a certain point tourism, whether we should cap it, we should put numerous clauses. That was the question, and nobody really answered. And I was thinking about it. I had the benefit of time to think about it. Look, sometimes people compare Europe to an attraction park or to a museum. And then I thought one day, what's wrong with being an attraction park of a museum? If you think about an attraction park, manages flows, have normally well-serviced restaurants, toilets. Same with a museum. You have the biggest pieces of art that you can only see there, and you have a nice shop, and also they regulate the flows in a way. So you see, there is this pejorative way to call managing, controlling. When you do things right, people will appreciate it, and we see, people tend to replicate things that work well. And we saw it with Swiss Sustainable, for instance. The amount of domino effect that I had in many other destinations, copying or replicating, not even copying your own strategy. And you see, it's about benchmarking, it's about best practice sharing, and in this very small but huge industry at the same time, we need to learn to share, because for the time being, we always say, yeah, but we look very much inwards or on destination, because we are global competitors, but at the same time, we live in the same planet.
I think, if I may, I think this is a fair point. Maybe we also have to be honest to ourselves and realize there are some spots which are basically hardcore tourism industrial zones. Like we have industrial zones for economic productions. We have agriculture zones where agriculture is domineering, and I think there are some spots in this world where tourism is the one domineering industry, and this is what the entire space is actually adapted to. Of course, then the locals have to agree with it, because they might have been there before, and if then the tourism is imposing, this is creating a problem. But if locals agree with the fact that this is our lead industry, this gives us prosperity, this gives our children a chance to be educated for welfare, then maybe this is also, it would be good if we, as tourism industry or professionals, would just realize the fact some parts in this world are highly industrial tourism zones.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to leave you all with one question. You have only one word to answer this. If you can say why tourism can be used for a force of good, what would that one word be, or thoughts?
Peace.
Peace, collaboration.
All-year tourism.
Money.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard their answers. It was such a pleasure being with you here today. Thank you all for listening in. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Try to find new places, explore the world, and try to find peace, and hopefully also some wealth and money. Thank you all very much.